Supplemental math videos from Circle Christian School.
Let's see if the record will work without having to go get the special tools. These are the answers. Some of the examples and explanations are coming up. Yay, it worked. Okay, so I'm going to try to walk you through this without doing any type of drawing, but you'll remember that this is on the segment card, that the purple, the short part, times the whole, the red part, equals the short part, 9, or the turquoise, and the whole, the green. So what you have to do with this particular one is take the short part, the x minus 3, and then you have to add together the negative 3, the x, plus the 9, plus 2x. Same for the other side. We have to take the short and add it to the rest. So 9 plus 3x plus 2. So we're going to combine like terms, and then we're going to distribute, and then we're going to have to do some foiling. Combining leaves us with the x minus 3 times 3x plus 6, and then we distribute the 9 and get a 99 plus 27x. Foiling will give us the 3x squared minus 3x minus 18. It's not really a dot above the one on the 18 there. It's, I don't know what it is, but it's there and it's in the way. 99 plus the 27x. Because it's quadratic, that means it has a power of 2. That means we can solve one of 3 ways. Default method is to use the quadratic formula. Have a quadratic equation, use the quadratic formula. All right, now that gives us 3x squared minus 30x minus the 117 equals 0. Anytime you have a number in front of that x squared up front, always see if you can't factor out a common factor. I like to call it GC fit, making it mean and lean and getting rid of the fat here. And you'll see that the common factor here is 3. 3 goes into 3, 3 goes into 30, 3 goes into 117. So after we factor the quadratic equation, we have 3, which tells me that we have a skinny parabola. Remember, all these things tell you something, even without a calculator. X squared minus 10x minus 39. We have an x squared, so it makes a parabola, equals 0. Always identify your A, your B, your C, because that's what goes into the quadratic formula. Coefficient in front of the x squared is 1. Coefficient in front of the x is negative 10, and then C is negative 39. Then build a template. The black is my template. I take away the letters of the formula and put parentheses, and then I plug in. The formula is x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, all over 2a. I'm already trying to put my values in. And next I plug in my values. I plug in all my a's, that's the 1, the 1, the 1. I plug in all the b's, negative 10 and negative 10, and then I plug in the c, negative 39. So now it's just real numbers doing real math. I do the fraction part first and simplify, and then I do the radical second and simplify. The first part gives us 10 over 2, which equals 5. Doing the radical yields 256, which is a perfect square of 16 times 16. And then you divide by the 2, simplify, and it gives us 8. We have real numbers, so we're going to do real math. 5 plus the 8 is 13. 5 minus the 8 is negative 3. Negative 3 will probably not work as a value once you put it back in, because you might end up with negative measure. 13's a good sure bet. The two other options besides using the quadratic formula is basically to factor by grouping. You can do the double bubble, or you can do the F by G, factor by grouping. Again, we're going to factor out the 3. You always factor out the greatest common factor or letter. So we have a double bubble. Looking at the front value, x squared, what would it take to have an x squared in our bubbles? We have an x up front. Then you look at the negative 39. What can we multiply together to equal a negative 39, 3 and 13, that when we add them together would give us a negative 10 in the middle. So our double bubble is x plus 3, x minus 13. The zero property rule says set each one of these factors, each one of these binomials to 0 and find x. We factor to go find x. We can also do the factor by grouping thing where we make a group and factor out the greatest common factor, and we will still get negative 3 and 13. 3 ways to do it. Double bubble, trial and error. Factor by grouping, deconstructive progress, or the default method, the quadratic formula. Here's a picture view of number 23. Going back to 10.1, Theorem 10.1 says that a line tangent to the circle is always perpendicular to the radius. This is the Farmer John problem. Farmer John's outside. So if he just goes to the center here, he knows he has 9 steps plus the x. And likewise, the tangent line, if he walks to the tangent point, gives him 51. So now we have a right triangle, a squared. This is a little slow because I don't have my pen with me. I only have my mouse with me. A squared plus b squared, leg squared plus leg squared equals c squared. So what we end up with is leg squared of 51, so 51 squared plus the other leg, which is x squared, equals the binomial of x plus 9, the radius plus 9 steps on the outside there, squared. It's not x squared, it's not 9 squared, it is parentheses squared. A binomial squared is always x plus 9, or the binomial times a binomial. Ah, there goes the cuckoo clock. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. X plus 9. Oh, this is hard to write with a mouse on a chair. Okay. which gives us the 51 squared. 51 squared is, oh my, 50, 50, something bigger than 2,500, x squared. And then you have to remember to FOIL the x plus 9 times x plus 9 gives you x squared plus 18x plus 81 after you FOIL it all together. It's a terrible 8, but it is as it is. Beep. There we go. And of course the x's cancel out and you go from there. It's just a Farmer John, a Farmer John. Follow the example in the book, 10.1. I want to say it might be example 2 or 3. And just a word about the spokes. Okay. The best thing to do is honestly draw this. It does not have to be a perfect drawing. You just have to have 14 spokes inside here. Taking 360 and dividing it by 14 gives you the measure of every inside angle, the central angle, of 25.7. But here's the tricky part. The tricky part says how many spokes are in between the angle measure of 128.5. All right. If you start at one spoke here, and you just keep counting 25.7, 25.7, 25.7, 25.7, 25.7 till you get to 128.5 degrees. This is where you end. How many spokes in between? It's almost like, how many licks does it take to eat a Tootsie Roll Pop? 1, 2, 3, 4, crunch! Takes 4. All right, guys. Make sure you watch the study guide. Check out your cards. Make sure they're in order. Have a good working calculator. Make sure you got your tools, a compass, a protractor, a straight edge. Those are the things that you'll need.